Welcome to
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose.
People of Purpose is a podcast of inspiring people whose stories help you see things differently, live with intentionality, elevate the way you participate in the world, and take the necessary leaps in your life to seek and find your passions. Come with us and develop the courage to wholeheartedly pursue your purpose and unleash your truest potential. Hello, welcome to People of Purpose podcast. I'm here with our newest guest, Alan Little, today. We have our small audience here of Galena, Bobby, and Parker, as well as Luther, our production man. We're excited to be in a studio today. Typically we do these on Zoom, but we are here today live in person. And we have Alan Little, who talk about how to have a little bit of motivation. Mm-hmm. I want to start with your shirt. This term Godfidence, when you said it to me, it just straightened me up, and I was like, wow, that's like exactly like the core of like I think what fuels the purpose. And how you come to realize these things that seem like intellectual concepts, but to create them in your life, you need to have this Godfidence. I want to know kind of the origin story of this term for you and how you use this term in your life.
It's for me, it's always been, I've always struggled with believing in myself from a sense of what I will go to the extreme of like, I don't believe in myself, to the extreme of I can do anything I want. And then I'll hit a failure and be like, oh, I'm actually terrible, right?
Gotcha.
So I would go to the extreme of like left and right. And what occurred to me was to sit in a cornfield in Iowa and to have a conversation with God directly, right? I was searching for my spirituality. I was wondering, like, is there something really more out there? Is basically this God stuff really real? Mm-hmm. So I studied at cornfield in Iowa, and I'm like, God, if you're real, I need proof, right? Because I get all of these different religions and beliefs thrown at me, and I'm like, I want one that actually works for me, that actually I can fall in love with, right? And so I sat in the cornfield and asked that question and said, God, if you're real, show me proof. Nothing happened for like 40 minutes, right? I'm expecting to see like Mufasa in the sky. Like I'm expecting something magical to happen. Nothing happened. And then I'm like, you know what? Whether you're real or not, God, I love you regardless. I love you regardless. And as I'm walking to my apartment, I get a text from my uncle. And he's like, hey, I need to give you a call really quickly. Are you available? I'm like, weird. I haven't talked to you in 3 years, but sure, why not? I hop on the phone with him and he's like, you know what? I'm feeling inspired to tell you that God loves you. God is glad you're back in his life and things of that nature. And that was my first synchronicity that happened, right? Many synchronicities after that. I found out that, you know what, this whole idea of God that I'm embracing, my belief is all rivers lead to the same ocean, right? So all beliefs, like as long as love is at the center. But just knowing that something greater than me, something magnificent loves me, once I embody that, I'm not really as attached to what people think of me because I know what God believes in me, how God loves me, how this universe loves me, and no one's bigger than the universe. Well, technically, we are the universe, but you know what I mean, no? Like the idea of the universe is like it's all that is. So if all that is love me, then nothing can be really against me. That really matters to me. So having Godfidence is being sourced in something that's quite literally not of this planet. And when you have something tapped within you that's not of this planet, you can do things that people's never seen done on this planet before.
Yeah. So you really trust these synchronicities. How do you know that they're from God?
Well, God is all that is, so everything that happens is God, essentially, So it's everything, God is all that is. Now, what a lot of people refer to, what perspective of God? Because if God is all that is, then there's light and obviously there's dark as well, okay? So now, put it like this. Whenever we play video games, there is usually a map somewhere on there that you can look at and know where you're going, right? You never be a part of a huge RPG game without some type of map.
Right.
In our physical realm, we have a map. So we can know if it's the positive, loving perspective or the fear-based anger perspective of God, which are both totally valid. And that map is our feelings, our intuitive feelings within, the ones that keep coming. We can't ignore them. That is our map. So immediately when we embrace something new, simply the way it makes us feel intuitively, and we really feel it, we know for a fact if it's in alignment with love or it's in alignment with fear.
Gotcha. And so I guess I want to understand how this is connected to your purpose journey So I want to get into a lot of these topics in these series, but first I wanted to catch up the audience to kind of where you came from and how you got here. Alan and I have been friends for about a couple months now. We've had a few lunches together. He's come to a couple parties of ours. And we've never gotten into your childhood. And then I read on your sheet you create before the podcast all these crazy things about growing up. You were raised by your father in Detroit, and then for 10 years, and then now your mom for the next 10.
Yep.
You were like sleeping in women's homeless shelters until there was too many nights in a row and they put you out on the street again.
Yep.
Then you had some cop go shopping with you and buy you a Game Boy Color.
Yep.
This is incredible. How, like, along this journey, how did you stay so like optimistic and so high belief and all these things when your external circumstances were, did you know that you were missing out on a nice middle class upbringing with married parents and like?
Yeah. I would definitely say those. Pertaining to the years where I was living, in the women's homeless shelters with my mother, and we were homeless and things of that nature. Mind you, though, that I was so young that for me it was all just a fun adventure.
Right.
Like for me it was we would I have friends at this shelter and friends at this shelter, and it wasn't until kids started talking and people started to know, like, hey, Alan lives in a shelter. That's why he catches the bus, goes to Weird Ride and all of this stuff. But for me, I've always been a dreamer. I've always been the reality I'm in right now does not have to be my reality in a sense of I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Okay. But mind you, though, is that being a dreamer, I also had a lot of fear. Right. So as a child, I was very quiet. I was very reserved to myself. My true story, my mom, she filed like almost an Amber Alert, a missing child report on me because she couldn't find me for like a whole day. She ended up finding me in the corner of her closet staring at the wall for 7 hours.
What? Why?
Because I would just sit there and I feel like I don't remember, but if I can think about it, I think I was just in my mind, in my soul. I think I was probably astral projecting. I don't know what I was doing. But I was very, very quiet because a lot of my experiences I was having were internal back then.
Yeah. So you were a very quiet kid without like a lot of these things that more affluent kids get to have, and then you became a speaker. Where do you think that like speaking gene came to be born? Were you just born with that, or did that just like develop once you understood Godfidence? Or how did that
happen? Okay, so I did not have as much of an innate speaking gene. For me, I started to read a lot, learn a lot, grow a lot. I was the one superpower that I claim to have. My dad told me this actually. The superpower that I have is extremely curious. I ask why. Okay, why? Okay, why? I go down that hall of mirrors, and then once I learn these truths, sharing this with others in the most profound way. And speaking came up. Actually, originally, my speaking career started with me working in a network marketing company. It was a network marketing company that was based on travel. And I was speaking for the sense to motivate people to want to travel, right? I was like, come travel with me. We're going to travel the world and everything. And I started, the more I talked about travel, the more I realized that people really wanted those vacations, mostly because their life was something they wanted to vacate.
Yeah.
They wanted vacations because they didn't like where their life was. I'm like, wait, I don't like the idea that people, some people would travel just to escape something. Why not create a life that is a vacation?
Yeah.
And that's when I started to ear more towards motivation and inspiration and things of that nature. So speaking started off, I was so bad that literally there was one time that I went into like a grocery store, and to work on my speaking skills, I was like, I cannot leave this grocery store until I speak and meet like 3 new people, right? And I was there for hours.
Oh, wow.
I would put myself through exercises weekly to improve my speaking.
Yeah.
So it was something that was definitely created.
I love hearing that, because a lot of people, I think, tend to think that you like are just a natural born speaker, a natural born leader. And you're saying that you were staring at the wall in your closet for 7 hours, that you spent all day long in the grocery store before you could talk to 3 people.
Yeah.
Like, what's your advice for, I guess, how has tapping into your sense of purpose and your Godfidence helped you to develop those abilities?
I'm a huge like visionary, like dreamer, video game, Star Wars. A lot of me, I I don't live in a fantasy land, but I live enough in it to want to make it true, to want to make it come to fruition,
Okay.
right? So for me, I think my thing was I would have a vision of what I wanted for myself, and I would have the backbone to go out there and do it. And I was also somewhat crazy enough to not be as affected by every time someone says you can't do this. Oh, I'm a rebel. I'm gonna go do it now. Simple for that fact, you know. If someone says you can't do this, that mean I got to do it now,
Yeah.
right? And so using that in a healthy way without it becoming an obsession. But mind you, though, is that this is probably something that's probably not even the most healthiest, but I've had a lot of what we call failures. I mean, a lot of like getting punched, getting knocked out. I've had days where I'll be in my car just crying, just the whole day just crying, whatever, you know, and probably get on some Snapchat or whatever and pick myself back up. And I really want to give a voice to that because it's some of those lowest moments that I've realized that strength is not about always being the strongest or the best. Strength is being able to get knocked down, feel the pain of everyone, feel the pain, but not let it break you.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, so what do you do when you're in those moments? You said you just like offhandedly mentioned Snapchat helps you pop out of it, but what is your actual, do you have a process for how you go from like low, failure, sad, you know, depths of despair to, you know, speaking on a stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people? Like, what's that journey look like?
So now today, my process is when there's a failure or something that knocks me down, I actually enjoy the low. I hang out there. I enjoy the low. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna play video games right now. I'm gonna play.
You mentioned that to me at lunch the other day.
I'm gonna play video games.
Just the rest of the day's gone. And that's
Exactly,
cool.
exactly. It's sometimes when we get knocked out, when something really punches us, like it can be anything that's like just painful for us. Let it have its day. I'm like, you know what, I got my ass kicked today, and I'm just gonna let that happen. And actually be okay with that and actually ride that wave, because in enjoying the process of that quote unquote failure, we're actually rising more, because it's not about what we create. It's about our state of being. It's about who we are internally. I'm telling you, the universe does not, in a sense, care if you impact 1 billion people or if you impact a fish in a grocery store or something. It doesn't care. Only thing that matters is how does it make you feel? How does it hit your state of being? People always say, Alan, like you have these huge goals and everything. My goals aren't huge goals. The only thing that's huge is how it may make me feel. So if someone's goal is to be a gardener, if someone's goal to be someone that picks up trash, if someone's goal is to go out there and change like multiple planets, it doesn't matter what they're doing. It's a matter of how they're being.
For sure. So on the surface, it looks like there's some sort of contradiction here, that you're saying that you want to be able to feel the depths of sadness and despair and let the day go, but you're also saying like I'm constantly tuning my being to who I want to become.
Exactly.
How do you handle like when you just like give over to the feeling versus when you create the feeling?
It's understanding that sadness is a part of the process.
Okay.
Sadness is a part of the greatness. A lot of people put sadness and anger and stuff in these lower, oh, I'm off my purpose. No. The movie has all of the emotions. We are all that is. I said, I am all that is. We are all that is. And all that includes sadness, includes failure, includes depression. It includes all of it. So the soul that's enlightened is the one that can enjoy. I got a different game for every emotion. If I'm sad, I know exactly what I'm gonna do.
It reminds me of Inside Out.
Inside Out, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna cry at I got a process for every emotion. So I think more people should stop avoiding particular emotions and start learning how to embrace those emotions and enjoy those emotions.
So you just mentioned you have a kind of a game for every emotion?
Yes.
Can you give me a glimpse into one or two of these?
Okay, when I'm feeling anger inside of me and I'm in a long-term relationship, you know, there's depths of anger that will come out that I didn't even know that was there, right? I got some Slipknot. I'll listen to some music, right? I got some dark music I'll be listening to, right? And I just be like I can really get into like that dark energies, and then know that like anything, like I am the darkest being. I'm that most angry being, and I enjoy that. And then eventually it goes away quickly. I healthily express it, and then I go into the next one. If I'm sad, right? If there's anything I'm sad, like I had a friend that, you know, that passed away some time ago, a very close friend of mine. And I have a thing where I'll do is I'll look at pictures of him. I'll enjoy the memories. I'll allow myself to cry. I enjoy it, right? I allow it to flush all of it out, you know? So it's having a practice for every emotion that comes and being ready for it.
So you mentioned before that you weren't really built for like whole like work and then have a vacation. Well, a lot of the population that does like, they do that. They work and have their vacation.
Yeah.
If you're in a job that's like, hours fixed and you need to be on performance and you're in meetings, but you're feeling these sort of things, like what do you suggest someone in those situations?
You want me to give like the slow, understandable one, or the abrupt, the truth, just the plain truth?
We like the truth.
The truth. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to work, and in a sense of doing what you don't want to do. The real power that the jobs that makes us do things, the real power is they get us to believe that we need to do it. They get us to believe that but in reality, we're all unlimited, abundant creators from out of this universe. Right. But here's the thing. We're using that power to shrink ourselves. We're using the creative power of the universe to shrink ourselves to believing we don't have it. So what's more powerful, a freaking tiger or a freaking cage that can squeeze a tiger and keep the tigers trapped? But here's the irony. We are the tiger and we are the cage. We're both.
Yeah.
So we're ultimately powerful. So what I say to those people is to understand the truth. This is what freed me, because I worked in corporate America for many years, right? And I felt very stuck there, the 2-week vacation, all of that. I did that thing, okay? The biggest thing I would say is you don't have to. And you know it. You don't have to. Mm-hmm. But what keeps people there is fear, survival. I got to feed my family. I got to feed myself. I'm going to run out of money. So now you have the fear of this death that we're running away from. Or here's another fear, while we're playing with fear, here's another fear. What if you never leave? What if you stay there forever? What is that going to turn out? Now that's a guaranteed. Mm-hmm. That's a guaranteed ugly right there. But there's this potential ugly of maybe running out of money. This potential ugly, or maybe like we got to tell our family we ain't got it. But I tell you one thing, those are struggles in and of themselves, but at least we'll be free.
Right. So do you think everyone should be an entrepreneur?
No.
How do you resolve that?
I think that everyone should do what they feel inspired to want to do.
Okay.
Someone could be working a corporate job and absolutely love it. That's amazing. They are just as valid as the entrepreneur. Some people are entrepreneurs and they want to work at a corporation. They want to work as a teacher. Yeah. They want to work as a farmer. That's perfectly is. I don't advocate everyone be anything, like in terms of like a job. I advocate everyone be happy and do what you love to do. Yeah. And do nothing else, and trust that you have infinite power supporting you in what you love to do. Actually, what you love to do is actually a wisdom in and of itself. Your desires have a wisdom that's taking you exactly where you need to go. That's why it feels good. Why would God have you feel good about something that's going to lead you to disruption? It only makes sense that you feel good about something that leads you to your full-blown, empowered self. And forever, here's the key word, forever joy lives in doing what you love to do. Forever joy. Not temporary joy, forever joy. Now, here's the key as well. Don't think that what you love to do has to remain the same. One day, you can love to fish. The next day, you can love to hunt. The next day, you can love to freaking fly a spaceship. It doesn't matter, because it's not about what you do. It's about the state of being that erodes first, and then that leads you to do a particular thing. So whenever there's a time where you feel like doing something, and then you do it, and then you don't feel like doing it anymore, you're like, well, this is my passion, so I have to do it. Release it, because it's not about the actual action. It only matters is the state of being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I sense there was some channeling happening there.
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes Anto will come in there and add some things.
Okay. So we're essentially to follow the bliss. Like Joseph Campbell has that line, like follow your bliss. Is that basically what you believe?
I'm saying you are the bliss.
Okay.
You are the bliss. And by being the bliss, natural actions will follow.
And how do we handle it when we've made commitments to others or to a team or to a project to see it through, but we want to now shift our attention to other passions?
Understand that there is no commitment higher than a commitment you have with yourself and your higher self. Because the commitment you have with yourself and your higher self actually is the best thing for others.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Do you guys have any questions on this topic?
Yeah, I do. Go ahead, Parker.
How do you know,
Speak in the mic.
like, if I want to do, like, partying or stay up late or do drugs that could feel good, how do I know when something feels good versus my bliss?
So understand there's a distinction between, in a sense, inner bliss and chasing an external joy, chasing a joy. Okay? So let's say, for example, these particular drugs that we may think is like amazing. Well, what does the drug allow us to feel? What does the drug allow us to experience? And think, could we experience that effect without the drug? Because in a sense, drugs, and I'm speaking very loosely here when I say drugs, very, very loosely. In a sense, everything external to us is a drug. Everything. Mm-hmm. Because we don't actually need it for our innate happiness. So think of it as if this particular drug, let's say, for example, marijuana, okay, that's labeled as a drug to many people. This particular drug allows us to feel relaxation, sensation, things of that nature, that source, right? Think of it as a teacher rather than a thing we depend on. Mm-hmm. And the thing that is teaching us is how to create peace and resolve within ourselves. Now, when it comes to the more extreme drugs, like I would say like meth and the illegal drugs, I would advocate, I wouldn't even pursue that because that's actually self-harming, that's self-detrimental. If you're not sure about that, talk to someone who's done it. But in a sense of the plant-based medicines, I would say think of them as teachers that can allow us to create it within ourselves without it. Because it is only in our time, not only in our time, but for most of us, it's our time that we transition or croak or die or whatever we call it, that we realize that we actually had everything within us already to begin with. We only had external things to bring out what was within us. It becomes a quote-unquote drug when we depend on that external thing over what already lives within us. When we understand that it's already within us, that we're actually the source of it, we tend to do away with the external thing because really it's just a reminder of what's already within us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well said.
Okay.
I like your question, Parker. It's actually very similar to the first one that I had, which was, so my question's kind of twofold to expand on this one. And maybe you can get to the root of like what's underneath this question and answer it in your own way. That would be great. So I wrote down, how do you differentiate between like a divine calling, something that's bringing you closer to your bliss, versus like a worldly desire, which I think is kind of analogous to this drug or these things that are outside of us. And the other one is, what would you tell somebody who like feels called to get connected with their higher self, their deeper truth, like they want to get connected with that which will bring them to that path to bliss? What would you tell somebody who's committed to that journey but not quite to the destination yet?
So to the idea of worldly desire, many people have labeled their actual desires as worldly desires. Mm-hmm. They've placed a judgment on what they actually want. There is some beliefs that the simple act of sex is a worldly desire. But this is not empirically true, because we are human beings. We are the definition of synergistic energy exchange, sex. We are sexual beings. All of us are. So labeling things of this sort as a worldly desire is adding a judgment to what we actually want. The way to distinguish, really there is no worldly desires versus our bliss. There's only our bliss and what's not our bliss. And we know that innately, what we enjoy to do and what we don't enjoy to do. What comes up that may be labeled as worldly desire is what others say. Understand that we are on a planet where if you follow your bliss enough, you will remind people that they're not following their bliss.
For sure.
And by reminding them that they're not following their bliss, they're going to take it out on you or project onto you that, hey, you're doing something wrong because what you're doing is something I'm avoiding, and I'm avoiding it for a reason. So you must avoid it too.
Right.
What was the second part of your question?
So the second part is, so let's say you've got somebody who is committed to finding that path of like living just truer to their pure bliss. Like they want to get in touch with that. They're not quite sure what it is. Personally, the way that I relate to this is like I feel called in 1,000 different directions. I love so many things, and it makes it hard for me to like focus on the one or two or three that maybe God is calling me to do, or like will lead me to my highest like actualization. So what would you tell somebody that's a little bit lost on that journey?
God is not calling you to do anything. God is calling you to be happy. Do not attach your happiness to what you're doing. What you're doing is an expression of your happiness. Really, really, the only thing that people need to focus on is their inner state of being, their happiness, their joy. If there's anything that you can focus and discipline yourself on, that's being happy, no matter what it looks like.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So how do you get closer and closer to expressing your truth when a lot of our understanding is muddled with what people are perceiving us? Like Jay Shetty has this thing he says, which is like, I am who I think you think I am. Right? So it's like we have this perception that Galena thinks this thing about me, and therefore I am probably that, and then therefore I act as that to her, and she thinks I am that perception. It's just like self-validating truth.
Yes.
How do you clear that out and get into your like honest, true self-expression?
It's to understand that there is no one else except you. There's only you. And you're using Galena as an embodiment of what you believe about yourself. So it's not taking responsibility of what you say about yourself. There's a lot of people that may say, I'm a very happy person. I don't think of myself as angry. I don't think of myself as this. And then one person says, you're an angry person. And they get angry, right? They're using the external person as a permission slip to believe about themselves what they already believe, but they're just not owning it. They're denying it. We have to understand that many people on our planet are in such denial that they'll place all of the ways they view themselves and to actually manifest people that views them in a particular way to view themselves. Someone thinks they're lazy, they'll manifest a dad that thinks they're lazy. Someone thinks they're ugly, they'll manifest a girlfriend that thinks they're ugly. Someone thinks that they're fat. You get the gist of it, okay?
Sure.
So understand that every way that someone views you, and if it actually affects you, if it actually triggers you, there's a little bit, if not a lot of it within you that believes that about yourself. Otherwise, there would be no effect.
So how do we get confidence in ourselves when our external environment, our external relationships are telling us we're not there yet, we're not good enough, we shouldn't trust that's scary, that's risky. How do you have to just like tell yourself that you know how you can do this even though you haven't done it yet? How do you find the confidence?
Understand that confidence is not something that we find, confidence is something that we are. A lot of times we take confidence and we make it this achievement. We make it this earned thing. We make it this, we got to go get it. As long as we're doing that, we're giving up our confidence to go get confidence. The very first thing to do is full acceptance of everything that's true within us. Accept the fact that we may be afraid. Accept the fact that we do have fears. And being loving and nurturing with ourselves. Holding ourselves as a child. Holding ourselves as a child and being the parent that we always needed growing up. In this acceptance, we will find that it is okay to have these different fears, to have these things, to lack confidence. It's perfectly okay. And in this space of love and all of it being okay, we get to choose who we are. And I'm here to remind you that you are confidence. You are confidence itself. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. There's nothing you can do to go, in a sense, get it. The only thing you can do is understand you already are it. And the very thing that you crave most in your life is actually the gift that you have to give to the world.
Yeah. I think one thing that's been common amongst the guests on the People of Purpose podcast is like having this belief that we each were born with a gift. And that gift needs to be expressed. Is that part of how you define your purpose? What does purpose mean to you?
As far as gifts being expressed, yes, we all are a gift. We all get to express that gift, but a lot of people attach expressing a gift as a particular job or some type of craft or thing. Simply being happy, simply raising kids, simply being ourselves. That energy, the gift is not particularly in what we do. The gift is the energy that radiates from us at all times. There'll be some people that'll be like, oh, I didn't do anything today, so I'm not really much of a gift. I'm not a contributor to society. Gift is tethered to our existence. And we don't have, in a sense, to express that in a particular way because we are the expression of that at all times. I would say the greatest gift that we can give everyone is the gift of authenticity in who we truly are. Authenticity of all aspects of ourselves. Because in this authenticity, it'll invite others into their authenticity, thus greater gifts that's given, seeing the real version of us.
For sure. For sure. How do we do better about raising authentic children?
The best way to raise authentic children is to be authentic yourself, is to be authenticity yourself. Children, they don't, in a sense, do what we tell them to do. They do what we are. So if, say for example, a mother tells a child, don't never lie to anyone, right? Someone knocks on the door, mother, tell them I'm not here. That is, in a sense, a lie. So it's like the child's gonna be like, okay, cool, well, I guess I shouldn't lie unless it's this, so I'm gonna lie in this way. The best way to raise authentic children is to be authentic ourselves, even, I'm getting something, even if that involves not being the primary child raisers of the children.
So it's not just the parents' responsibility, it's people associated with the parents?
Children were not meant to be raised from, in a sense, just the parents.
Yeah.
Think of this. When people grow up, they have many friends, many perspectives, many guides. Although the parents can be a guide for the children, it is advantageous is what's coming for the children to have many perspectives to lean into, many perspectives of love available to them. Our society places a bit of a favoritism on, since biologically the children came through me, I am responsible for the majority of their child raising. And this is not empirically true. Although children coming through a particular person or a particular couple is a very, very great gift, it doesn't limit the children to just those two people. There's children that feel more of a father figure from their baseball coach. And this is perfectly okay. Because when we stop thinking of family as one household and start thinking of family as a planet, things will start to really balance themselves out.
Yeah. So, what are you doing right now in your life right now to capture your purpose better, or to be who you're meant to be? Yeah.
I am right now joyfully having conversations with beings that's not on this planet. And I love it because these beings that are not on this planet, on their planet, they already have world peace. They already have love for each other. They already have family, right? And so I'm connecting with them, having conversations with them. And I love getting to learn from people where the thing that is almost like, for a lot of people on our planet, world peace is pie in the sky. On their planet, it's every day.
Right.
So learning from that perspective and sharing that to our planet is very, very joyful for me.
Okay, so you're talking to aliens?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're no more alien than, someone that lives in Chicago and have a cousin that lives in, Tokyo, right? So it's not really, in a sense, I know our popular Hollywood machine, all that, label them as aliens, but at the same time, there's people that live in Arizona and they call people in Mexico aliens.
Yeah.
They're no more alien. They're just star family. I call them star family.
Okay. Yeah, I have my friend Tom who lives in the Philippines. We talk almost weekly for the last 7 years. I've never met him. So this
Yeah.
would be like kind of that kind of relationship?
Exactly the same. Exactly
Gotcha.
the same.
Okay. So what's coming up in these conversations?
Well, a lot of things that's coming up is first things first is I'm receiving a lot of healing in my own personal journey. The being that I've been in connection with a lot, his name is Anto. He lives on a different planet. He calls it MR3. It's really a long M word. I couldn't even pronounce it. He just said call it MR3 for short. And he's been in touch with me my entire life since I was a child. And it's really cool to communicate with him because he's bringing up, he brought up for me old fears that lived in my body that I didn't even know of. But in a sense, since he sees the whole picture of my entire life from where he is, or he's been with me since I was a kid, it's almost like a brotherly figure that known me since childhood. And actually, just as recent as yesterday, I had a very, very, very scary conversation with my dad. And this was arguably one of the greatest fears that lived in my chest that Anto called out. See, what Anto does is that sometimes he will connect with my body from his planet. He'll connect with my body and be able to scan my fears, right? And there was one time where we were talking and he's like, okay, close your eyes. Now, do you feel this? And the moment he said that, I felt like a thud on my chest. I'm like, yo, I feel that. What is that? He's like, okay, wait. He's like, do you feel that? I'm like, not as much. He's like, okay, I'm gonna crank up the machine. And I felt like a louder buzz in my chest. And then when he got to the left side of my chest, he was like, this is a fear, has something to do with your father. You may need to have a conversation with your father. And I'm like, what could I be talking to my dad about? I had to talk with my dad. And I realized that my dad, I love him with my heart. He is a person that aligns really much with the Bible and also very much with, let's just call it old school ways of thinking, and has a bit of it's not natural for a man to transition to being a woman. Transgenders, transsexuals. And in his belief, he's saying that although he's not going to judge those people, but from his perspective, from a spiritual perspective, that's not right, that's not natural, God doesn't like it. It was extremely painful for me to have a conversation with him and saying, actually, Dad, I don't see it that way. I actually believe that God would not create beings that have dreams that he can't fulfill. And for the very first time in my adult life, me and my dad was definitely not on the same page about something.
Right.
And it scared me because I'm like, Dad, like, although we have different perspectives of God, I don't want to lose my best friend. And I cried. And he's like, son, no matter what, I'm always, always, always your father. You're always my son, and we're always friends, no matter what our spiritual beliefs are.
So your fear was that you'd lose your best friend and your dad if you made it known that you had opposing spiritual views as him?
Yeah. At the base of it, yeah. You know, my fear was I'll lose my best friend and my dad and having opposing spiritual views, and also that I'm actually okay with transsexual women. If I see a transsexual woman, I see that's a woman.
Right.
And I had fear that he's like, oh my goodness, you know, but the fear released itself. I expressed it. We loved each other, and it felt good because I get to be my true self and still have my dad, still have him in my life. I think the reason why a lot of people are afraid to be authentic is because they're afraid of what they'll lose and who they'll lose in that authenticity.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I've learned from yesterday's experience is what I gained. And I gained me, myself, loving myself more, and understanding that if I be myself, this is a quote that my partner Sky shared with me. She said, if you have people that leave your life in your healing process, then those people were attached to you being hurt.
Yeah.
And that's why they fell away.
Yeah.
So in our healing process, being in our authenticity, we get to see and experience who are the people that actually loves us for us, and not for what they want of us or what they think of us.
And then we don't attract those kinds of people anymore because we're not a magnet for that kind of energy.
Exactly. Or we attract those people and we get to heal them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We attract them and we can heal them too.
So how can we communicate with aliens? Like, how can
First things
I do
first
that?
is not identifying them as aliens,
Okay.
because that puts them far away.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's something of like that type of term. It creates separation and is maybe a little bit
I just had an insight for you.
discriminatory or derogatory or something.
It's almost like addressing Galena as an alien.
Right.
She's like, I'm right here, right? I've just received. I've just
I mean,
received.
she kind of, very unique.
I've just received an insight for you, though.
Okay.
You already have had contact with them.
Yeah.
You've already had contact. You've already been in communication.
Help me understand. Help me to remember that.
You've had contact. Many people have already had contact. Now, that is a good question. How to remember this is first accepting that you've already been in talks with them.
Yeah.
Being grounded in like, okay, I've already done this. And as you are grounded in that, you'll start to feel and see the invitations to what next steps to do from already doing it. From a practical sense, the way you build a relationship with Star Family is the same way you build a relationship with someone on our planet. Communication. Mm-hmm. Talk with them. Go out there, go outside, or in your room, wherever it resonates, talk with them. And understand that communicate doesn't always mean just talking. So they can communicate with you oftentimes through synchronicities. Mm-hmm. Synchronicities that happen, numbers on a board, random movies coming on at the perfect timing, synchronicity. There's many ways to communicate, but by actually first acknowledging that you've already had contact with them, and then going out of your way to actually communicate out loud with them and
Right.
starting that relationship and noticing that when they communicate back with you through a synchronicity or words or whatever it is, when they communicate back with you, acknowledge like, wow, that's them. They're there. He's there. She's there. They're connecting with me. And that starts to build a relationship whatever we need be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have. Yeah, for me, like a lot of my personal development journey has been through brain injuries. And so it gets to the point where I don't even like fully trust my memory of something like from the intellectual realm. But like there's always this, I remember when I was like laying on the mountain after falling like super far at Yosemite National Park and just like really banging myself up. I couldn't remember what I had just thought about. I couldn't remember like what day it was, what I was doing recently. But I could always, there's something beneath that surface that always felt like a true eternal memory that I'm this soul and this soul is pure and this soul like has another chance if it wants to flourish again. And I feel like that was probably the beginning of me talking to aliens, so to speak. I was asking for a lot of spiritual guidance about what to do with this next chance I have to live, because I basically like came really close to like losing it all. And ever since then, I've just super trusted the guidance of questions out there. Whatever shows up as a serendipitous thing in my life or a synchronicity, I'm going for it.
Yes.
And now I am like here 11 years later, and I'm still living like that.
Yes.
And I don't know a different way to live anymore. It's like, is that kind of what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Understanding that you have help in so many different perspectives, in so many different ways. You have access to so many strong helpers on your team.
For sure.
You're like a quarterback that has like the best receivers, the best linemen, the
Yeah.
best of the best on your team.
What happens when I also have my team here? Sometimes my team doesn't want to block for me today, or they don't want to run and catch a pass, and they're tired and they want to go and have a vacation and all these things. How do you maintain like leadership without being controlling to get the result of like that the team is striving for?
Mind you that the only result that matters is the result of joy, inner joy.
Yeah.
So there's very many times where a particular result would elude us, particularly to teach us that we're attaching our happiness to that result.
Right.
Because the result that matters is not external, it is internal. Now, in the idea of leadership is communicating. As a leader, leaders aren't really the ones that says, follow me. Leaders are the ones that says, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'm willing to lead the way and go first in this. So if there's a time where, let's say, for example, you're running out to throw a pass and your team isn't there, your lineman isn't there, then that's the perfect time for a QB sneak.
Yeah.
We're in a sense where you are equipped enough to actually run to the end
I
zone
love football metaphors. It's
through
great.
the defense.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So know that you have your team that's there, that can be perfectly in alignment, but you're also a powerful player as well. And sometimes if you don't feel like you're a powerful player, life can be taking your team away just so you can understand that you're a powerful player.
For sure. Also, like, this kind of thing is one of many things I envisioned would happen when I formed a business and had teammates and all these things. Like, this is what I'm after, is like finding community, understanding the deeper truths of life. Like, we have, one of my mentors here, Luther, who's created this whole set for us. We have, like, Galena, who I absolutely love. She was our first one in person that joined our team. She helped me pioneer tons of things as, like, my right-hand person. And then Bobby joins the team, and he can, like, close all these deals with these sellers, and now we own a bunch of houses, which is also really cool. And then Parker is newer to our life, and it's, like, been fun to watch him, like, find his voice and find his flow. And, like, Parker's challenging me to, like, let go of the control and the structure and, like, you make these calls at these times and just trust him to, like, follow his bliss and create the results for the team. And I'm sure there's going to be more figures that come in our world as well. It's like the posture I take is very different than I think my business partner, Phil, takes. And it's been really hard sometimes to, when you have partners and then you have a team, how do you get all that to synchronize? Because if I'm just being me, I'm really not driving like result and call and this. That's not my style. But his style is much more like of an action taking, like we're going to get all these things done and that's how we hit our results.
Mind you that it's okay to take those actions. It's okay to be like that. The only thing that matters is that it's coming from a place of joy. The actions are irrelevant. Is it joy? You could be joyful with not as much physical action, more internal things or things of that nature.
Yeah.
He could be joyful and grinding every day, 20 calls, 80 calls, 100 calls, whatever
Yeah,
it
for
takes,
sure.
right? So you come together, you synchronize in a sense by knowing that his joy could be different than your joy. As long as you're both coming from a place of joy, you'll always be synchronized.
Yes. Cool.
So that's the conversation I have with Phil. Are you happy doing this? Okay, cool. I love it then. Understand that I may not be as happy doing that, but if you're happy in doing it, then hey, this is a perfect opportunity for you to lead that department in your joy, and you may be attracted to inspire and attract other people that may have a similar joy.
Yeah. I remember you telling me a little bit about your kind of business ownership style, and you had some marketing person that was trying to like create a message to get clicks and likes and whatever. How did you tell us about that situation, how you handled that?
I told them the truth about how it doesn't align with they were putting the result in a sense where the goal was the result of the clicks and the likes and all of that, things of that nature, rather than the goal being the expression of the message, the goal being sharing and uplifting the world. I've had that conversation with them, and to be very honest, since that conversation, I felt the energetic differences. Some of their teammates aligned, some of their teammates didn't align, and their leader, I feel a bit of a sense of, how should I put it? I call it loving each other go.
Loving each other go.
Loving each other go.
That's pretty profound.
And by loving each other go, we can understand that, hey, you want to be in that energy? I love you regardless. I'm going to be in this energy. Please love me regardless.
Yeah.
Because their perspective is very valid. My perspective is very valid. And loving each other go means we release each other without judgment.
So ultimately, if we have this philosophy, we attract this tribe of people that like is always living in joy together. They're being the expression that they want to be, and then they find success defined by the terms of that vibe of that tribe, which is different than some other vibe of that tribe.
Yes.
Cool.
Exactly.
So
And
what's up with this like negativity around the word click, like it, or what's the not click cult? Yeah, like I feel like this word has been popping up recently for like what we have going on at our house, and it's like I can see like we're pretty joyful like hanging out with each other, And then this label comes on and we're quick to say, no, we're not that. But like, there's something in the cult thing that we are that we appreciate.
Remember what we said earlier. If you go to a certain level of bliss, you will remind others that they're avoiding that or they want it themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely one of those terminologies where it's like, first things first, on the other standpoint, it can be a sense of we want that, so we're going to try to bring it back to our level. And then on our standpoint, remember, what the other thinks about you are just subtle fears you have within yourselves to address and to heal and to reveal.
Yeah.
Because if I called you right now and said, hey, you remind me of a school bus, would that affect you?
No.
Because there's no part of you that believes you're a school bus. There's no fear about that.
Right.
So if there's people that are saying things that can make you feel, the group feel like, oh, there's something wrong with us, then I will address that head on before others address it and heal it. Because oftentimes they can use the word cult, they can use the word group. It doesn't matter the word, it's the frequency.
Yeah.
It's the frequency that matters. If that word brings up a fear within you, mind you that if there's a group that's together, they have common joys, they often sometimes have common fears.
For sure.
So what is the common fear that can be coming up when that word cult comes up?
Definitely blazing trails. My corporate job, I don't remember doing like drum circles before we go into a sales cycle and making sales calls. So
Mm-hmm.
It might be a shame of being authentic to what we follow.
And for me, I'm scared of being too exclusionary. Like we're too weird to be inviting to a new person or something. That's part of my fear.
Mm.
I was always that kid in school that could be friends with all the groups of people.
Mm.
But my favorite group was the debate kids because they were super open-minded and always able to like step into different paradigms.
Mm-hmm.
But they would make no friends with any of the athletic kids. They just like looked down on them.
Mm.
And I was like the quarterback of the football team also. So I like respected like the what was going on with that too.
Mm.
And I guess I have this fear that I live in this like inability to like unify and unite all the different tribes that I feel connected to at some spiritual level. And so by calling it a cult, it siphons off what we have here to the rest. And I don't want that feeling to be created.
Mm.
That's probably my fear about it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's a beautiful expression. And acknowledging of it and seeing it for what it is. And that's all perfectly okay.
I still want to be, like, I would love to be vegan, and I want to be able to, like, eat steaks and lobster with my grandma when she cooks it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is kind of, I guess, symbology of, like, the tension I feel sometimes.
The different parties of people that you want to be able to dance with simultaneously.
Yeah. And it feels really authentic to be able to dance with each of them. Like, I find traveling extremely easy for me. Other people are like, how can you just go by yourself to like Thailand or like rural parts of Morocco? I like lived in the desert of Morocco for a week. Didn't know anyone. It's like that stuff is so easy for me to navigate because I just like, I'm curious. I bring the open-hearted thing. I sit down and have tea with people. We can't speak the same language, but we end up finding ourselves laughing and drawing things and showing pictures to each other. And like, there's something that feels universally important to me in that. But there's this weird, like, that's just a past life or that's something I can vacation to. Right now I'm here in Kansas City and I'm building this business, but it's all me. And I feel like that's kind of the link in my purpose journey that I haven't quite figured out yet. Is I know how to like lead a group of 10, 12, 15 people here, lead a little thing here, 4 or 5, captain this team. I do like lots of leadership things, but haven't brought it all together yet. And I kind of have this dream of like being like the mayor of like a city I create. That's probably like one of the bigger dreams in my heart. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but that's probably the answer.
That's good. That's good. You're seeing all of yourself. Because remember what we alluded to earlier is that there's only you. And people are in a sense external extensions of you.
Right.
So integrating the groups together is integrating all parts of yourself together.
For sure. Yeah. I love it when we have 150 people at a party type of thing. Yeah, but then like I know my dad doesn't like that. I know my wife doesn't like that. So it's like you have to be cognizant of all these forces in your life. And, yeah.
So being aware of these different beliefs, you might even say they're a bit alien-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't feel like I fit in here sometimes. Yeah.
That is good to ponder on.
For sure.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought I was asking this for my mom, but then I thought about it and I was like, well, I'm actually asking this for myself. How do you keep pursuing bliss when it seems irrational and irresponsible?
Irrational and irresponsible are some of the most blissful things you can do. Everything that's fun is usually irrational and irresponsible. Think about it. So understanding that irrational and irresponsible are actually very fun. That's how the best movies are made. Some of the greatest Hollywood scenes are scenes that weren't even in the script. Now, the judgment energy that's placed on there, that would be a conversation with the person or people that originated that energy with you. So it's not about the word irrational and irresponsible. It's about the people that you used to make you feel irrational and irresponsible, and having that conversation with them, either directly with them or energetically or expressing with them, to allow yourself to have irresponsible, irrational fun.
Okay, I have one more.
Yes.
So this one is for my mom. What to do when somebody feels stuck and they don't see a path that's shining with clarity and direction and joy?
They feel stuck, and yet they're looking for a path, but understanding that there's plenty of joy in being stuck. There's plenty of joy that can be found in the stuckness. If someone is stuck and Jim Carrey's in a room with them, that can be a very fun room. So know that the energy doesn't have to be avoiding being stuck, but could be looking for where is there joy, bliss, fun, excitement right here where I'm standing. Sometimes people can look down at their shoes and find joy in their shoes. Why did I choose these shoes? You know what, when I got these shoes, it was with a past relationship, and that was such a funny relationship. Who knows where it can go? So not placing any joy or anything down the path per se, but knowing that they are the path themselves and they don't have to go anywhere.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when I've channeled or tapped into some energies, I have this reoccurring theme that this earth is moving towards like a collective unity, like the star families that you're talking about. Where do you see this world going, or in what direction, or is there a theme going on?
Understanding that there is no particular direction that the world is going, because it's already at all places at once right now. There is no such thing as time in a sense. So right now the world is everywhere right now. The question is, where do you want the world to go? Where do you choose the world to go? And whatever direction you focus on, you will experience. So where do I see this world particularly going? Well, from the highest perspective, I see it all places at once, but there is the world that I choose. And the world I choose is divinity, love, connection, community, all of those things and as such. And how to create that and experience that really is by being the energy of community, being the energy of love. We don't actually change the world. We don't. The world exists the way it exists. We change ourselves, and we experience the version of the world that's in alignment with ourself we changed to. So if someone wants a loving planet, be love. Someone wants a joyful planet, be joy. Someone wants a planet where there is clean water for all, be an advocate for clean water, be a clean water specialist. We get to actually choose the planet we experience because they all exist right now.
For sure. Well, I know that you needed to wrap up because you got more things to go to today. I
Yes.
wanted you to be able to share with the audience how they could tap into, getting closer to you and your ideas, and if you have any sort of platform or a place that they can plug into to elevate in their purpose journey.
Yeah. I have a little bit of social media. Instagram, Alan J Big, ALLENJBIG, Alan J Big. Instagram, TikTok, really everything is just Alan J Big. They can also more than welcome to just email me as well. I'm feeling called to say you can email me, and that is Alan ALLEN at rethinkingbig.com. So Alan at rethinkingbig.com. That is my email. The website that I have is rethinkbig.org.
Okay, cool.
Cool beans.
Thanks. Thanks for being on the show. It was really fun to be able to talk to you about these different topics, and it's fun to have an audience that also seems like they got some value. Thank you for showing me how you channel the expression.
Yes.
Thank you for helping me identify where kind of my gap is right now, as well with the unifying the different people groups to something. So, I appreciate you.
Love you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.